Hey guys, welcome to the live stream today where we're going to be looking at our 2020 presidential election debate and all the different things that we got from it. So we're going to do a quick analysis and I guess live reaction to what we saw today in these presidential debates, which were really crucial. As we start getting more people jumping into the chat, we're going to see and have a discussion. So if you guys are more than welcome to start commenting in the chat. But first, I wanted to talk to you guys about a couple of different things. First thing I wanted to talk about is essentially what did you guys think about the moderator? I think that honestly, Chris Wallace, he's a good journalist and everything. However, I think he definitely failed heavily and massively to be able to go through and accurately go with the debate and make it a fair debate where everything was fair and the playing grounds were truly equal, not only for Trump but also for Biden. That's one of the things I saw with this debate, and I think there was a lot of interruption. It was very messed up in a way that Donald Trump really just took control. Like I'm seeing Jason in the chat right now. He's saying that truly we're seeing a quick effect of Donald Trump took control of those debates. He was able to manage those debates in a way where he truly did take it and he blew it out of proportion. He did challenge Biden on many different claims. However, I think we're honestly also going to see some drawbacks. When it comes to expectations, whether they were made or not, we definitely saw Biden's expectations were hit. We didn't expect him to blow it out of the park. Considering how much Donald Trump interrupted, I think Biden met his expectations. Donald Trump, he met his expectations, if not went a little bit over. I would say this debate overall, it was pretty average, I guess. We expected Donald Trump to go through and start interrupting Biden many instances. We saw many different instances of that happening, and I think at this point in time, it wasn't as big of a surprise. When it comes to the things that we're talking about, I think, honestly, like the biggest thing was, I think the most heated section definitely was the race relations. Donald Trump had a pretty tough question asked of him, in a sense that he could lose a lot of support. And then we also saw parts of like Biden being challenged by losing the support amongst the radical left, like Donald Trump called them during the debate, when it came to healthcare, when it came to all those different things. And the debate, when it came to the standpoint of going and who had the better points and who was able to like manage and go around the debate a lot better, we could say that, yeah, the not denouncing white supremacy was bad. I think at this point that was like a really big damaging point for Trump. However, I mean, he's been asked to do that before and he kind of has refused. But then there was a thing, there was a moment I think Biden had been asked to renounce something and he didn't do so. So I think the impact may not be as radical or as big as we may think. However, I mean, it's going to have an impact. I think this first debate, at least, the impact will be minimal. Maybe a couple points for Trump. Other than that, I don't think that much. I think Chris Wallace was horrible moderator. I think on both sides, if you just think of it, he gave Trump a lot of time. He was lenient with Trump and him speaking over again. Yet again, he also screamed at him a couple times. And during the debate, I think just Chris Wallace wasn't able to manage it. Because if we think about Chris Wallace's journalistical style, we would know that he's more on the chill side. We've seen interviews he's done with Trump, all these different things. So, yeah, hate groups from the left and hate groups from the right must be denounced equally. I definitely agree with that claim, Neptune. I think it's very hypocritical. If the left is only calling out the right and the right is only calling out the left, both of them are doing something messed up. Both of them need to get called out for it. And I think this debate, essentially, we also saw a lot of ping pointing. Like, you did this, but I did that. You did this, but I did that. That's something we see in a lot of debates. However, it's truly a thing that we see in this debate. Another thing I did not personally like was the clown name calling. I mean, when it comes to Donald Trump's presidential campaign, he's done that a lot of times. Not only in 2020, but in 2016, he's come up with tons of names for his opponents. Now, for Biden as a character, if we think about regular Biden, who's always good, who's always this, whatever, the picture that Biden paints of himself, I was very surprised that he called the president a clown. But again, it was also debate strategies. When it came to not denouncing Antifa is not as bad. I think that's definitely because it was hypocritical, I would say, of not denouncing this. So that's not going to be a fair point they're going to be able to use. However, it's something that definitely really does matter. And I think strategically looking at the points that they debated, I think Trump made good points and he framed Biden for a lot of things and he was very on the attack. And I think we saw Biden, instead of going out and screaming and debating, he just stayed quiet for a couple of minutes. Or not a couple of minutes, but for a couple of seconds before he could actually get his response out. So yeah, I think Biden assured the Democrats he's still sharp. Trump gave red a meat to Republicans, but was obnoxious. I think Tony, I definitely agree with that claim that you just made right there. With this debate, we were trying to see too. I mean, Trump was being super obnoxious. I sometimes agree with Trump's ideas, but I would have to say that during this debate, he was being some of the most obnoxious I've ever seen Donald Trump, and I think that doesn't go well with voters. Now, here's the thing as well. With Biden, we could see some support go down from Bernie Bros or those type of Democrats who perhaps they really don't want to go out and vote for him. So because of his things that he said during the debate. Kenneth says Antifa is not an idea, but rather an organization. That is definitely a true claim. They're really not a they're really not an organization. They're just ideas. However, they oftentimes come together and act like an organization. Yeah. Wallace gets a thumbs up for doing his best. I would say that Wallace, he tried his best. However, the debate went out of his proportions. There's many things that he could have done to efficiently handle the debate in a way which was fair, in certain ways, in a way that allowed both candidates to speak equally. If there was many other ways, I think he truly could have stood his ground very toughly. But Donald Trump was being obnoxious during this debate. I think there is no question of that. But he truly was, except the little comments, those little things. For the average American voter, I don't think that would really help. I think, Kenneth, you're right. The suburbs might come back to Trump. Those claims with the law and order, all of those claims, those really helped out Donald Trump. And I think, of course, we're going to see in the next couple of days the fact checking that always happens after a debate. But overall, I think very good debate performance if you look at it strategically. Personally, if you look at how Donald Trump acted, he was being obnoxious. But as a debater, Donald Trump was able to do a very good job with that. Okay, who do I think won? Okay, so I think that Donald Trump probably won the debate for one reason. It's he stood his ground. Joe Biden, whenever he got asked something tough. Oh, here's the thing that I think I now remembered what Joe Biden did that was pretty bad. He didn't call out that he wouldn't pack the court. That was a huge mistake if you think about it. So I think if he didn't Donald Trump didn't say that he wasn't going to call out the KKK. Biden didn't say that about Antifa. Now, with the court packing and Biden not pledging to do that, that was a pretty bad look in my opinion. And I think in a lot of Americans' opinions, that's going to reflect. I want to know what you guys think about packing the courts. Do you think, let's say your party or your political beliefs were down, would you support the packing of the court? Okay, Biden got cut up first saying that he was a private citizen and could not tell governors to call in the National Guards. That's true. I think that claim could have been come out a little better because even though you're a private citizen, you still have a lot of power. So I think he could have definitely done something with that. The way it came out, I guess it was okay, and he had a point. Then when Trump told many Democrats support socialized medicine, Biden said it didn't matter because he was the Democratic Party. That was a pretty big contradiction. You're right. And I remember that was the first one of the first things they talked about in the debate, kind of transitioning from Supreme Court to healthcare, because that segment was pretty much they shouldn't confirm Amy Coney Barrett due to her views with the healthcare and things like that. Then I think honestly there's going to be that was going to be a thing that we're going to see there with the Supreme Court, and I think healthcare was the biggest push there. I was worried Trump might tone it down to seem more presidential. At first, I'm going to be honest with you. At first, when I started watching the debate, I started with the first part about the first 5 minutes of the debate were Donald Trump was being presidential. Now that gradually turned into getting fired up, being obnoxious, interrupting, all of those different things. And Trump was acting foolish. Trump was acting childish, which, again, as a debater, I mean, he was pressing his point. So, however, it comes off as obnoxious. It comes off as rude and things like that. Trump hit Joe Biden hard. I think that Trump won the debate. Biden didn't support BLM also. I mean, he kind of did in the debate. But Trump did so good that with his quick responses causes Wallace letting Biden give sub-halfters but not stopping checking biasly. I mean, with Chris Wallace, I've been saying this. Moderating was terrible. One, it was, I think, a little unfair on both sides when it comes to some of the points asked. I mean, that's expected of a debate. But the ability to keep the structure of the debate going, horrible, horrendous. I mean, Chris Wallace, as much as he tried, he couldn't keep Trump quiet when Biden was talking. And of course, those are aspects of a good debate. And for us viewers who probably have made up their minds already, that would have been interesting to watch. However, for an American that's undecided, I think we shouldn't go to the circus when we're watching these debates. We should be talking serious business. Packing the court when it was done by FDR in 1936 was a desperate measure to get his policies passed without the court invalidating them. I think it's just messed up. The Constitution is written in a way where you can try packing the courts, but it's just wrong. Trump acted foolish. Yeah, I read that already. And I think that's definitely something that we must analyze as well. And just looking at how the ways that Donald Trump really acted in the debate, there is different points in the debate that we saw how he acted that truly showed us his little true cards. And let's compare these to the debates in 2016. We saw some of the little movements that he made, kind of like the way that he talked, the way that he positioned himself, the way that he directed questions to Joe Biden in a more obnoxious manner, that we saw them pretty big similarity to what we saw with Hillary Clinton in 2016. On Joe Biden's part, debate performance a lot lower than Hillary Clinton's. His bars were met because, let's be honest, there's very little that Joe Biden could underperform because the bar was set super low for him. If you go on Twitter, if you go on TikTok, you see like a lot of different people saying he's going to fall asleep on stage, which, of course, those things are never going to happen. However, debate performance from Biden was, I wouldn't say anything but amazing. So, Want to Know Politics says, do you think Amy Coney Barrett is a good person? I think she's a good person. Now, here's the thing. Maybe the ideas that she does have, some of them might contradict your personal political beliefs, but as a person, as a scholar, and as a lawyer, she's very talented. You can stare at your accomplishments without being interrupted. You're definitely right, Jason. I think that's a great point. And just analyzing the fact that Donald Trump was very pushy about it, he wasn't being the way that he took it was maybe not the best way to take it, because there's many other things he could have done to make it seem a lot better. What nobody will mention is that Trump wanted to badly talk law and order. When they finally got to the subject, that was actually best. He won that for sure. You know, when it came to the law and order segment, I think Donald Trump hit Biden hard. That like segment is really going to affect some undecided suburban voters. Now, Biden was quick to change the subject. Why? Maybe he didn't have a good, accurate response. Maybe he did, but he just didn't want to say anything. At this point in time, we could tell that Biden probably wasn't as prepared, and if he did something, it probably was going to contradict himself. At the beginning of the debate, I will tell you that we honestly saw pretty presidential moment from Trump, but after everything went downhill. So Shamel asked, who do I think won? I think Donald Trump won the debate just because he was wearing the pants of the debate. He was the one running the debate. I would say this debate was Trump versus Biden, moderated by Trump, because Chris Wallace lost complete control of it. I've talked a little bit about him during this video, but I think it's interesting to tell that, or actually this live stream, but I think it's interesting to tell that Chris Wallace wasn't that prepared. In terms of body language, Trump won. Biden couldn't look at. Yeah, I know that Biden was completely like looking down the whole time. Trump looked at him, and Donald Trump took the authoritarian type look, I guess. I don't know if you guys remember, but in 2017, 2018, I think it was more 2017, when Trump started meeting with these big world leaders, we saw him take the kind of the body language of an authoritarian person, someone who wants to be on top of everything. That's the same body language we saw amongst this debate. Only bad time Trump had, which I hated, was when he told the Proud Boys. That was, I think, pretty bad. So I think just not doing it in general is bad. Now, the way that he worded it makes it even worse. So that's very true. What are you talking about? Biden won the law and order question by bringing up the fact that crime rate had fell under. Look, I think when it came to the crime rate, the violence and all that law and order, I think Trump won that segment. Maybe in your head you agree more with Biden's policy, but as an unbiased voice looking at it, I would say during the law and order segment, just the way that Donald Trump conducted himself, the way that he was able to do those things, I think we just did a better job with that segment. I think if there was one segment that Biden did particularly well in, which I think in most segments, if I'm correct, Biden lost in a lot of segments, somewhat earlier than others. But I think if there's one that he could have won was the COVID-19, which Donald Trump tried defending himself, but Biden did a very good job at being able to frame Donald Trump. Trump's message could have been used against him more than effectively than Biden's. That's true. Trump always shakes up the rules. Thus, his behavior tonight, he's also a corporate world where people are blunt. If you don't perform, you're fired. That's definitely true, and that's like a thing about Donald Trump. Donald Trump is a businessman. He is a showman sometimes. When Donald Trump is campaigning, those skills definitely come into play. And here's the thing. When we think of Donald Trump, we think of the Washington outsider. We think of those different types of claims. That's usually what comes into the minds of many Americans. That debate truly proved that he wasn't a Washington insider. Let's suppose the debate would have been some other Republican. Let's say Ted Cruz won 2016 election. Washington insider versus Washington insider. I think this debate would have been pretty boring. But since Donald Trump was able to shake everything up, it made it interesting. I know, okay, so the debate was horrible. I think this debate, when it came to being interesting, it was interesting. It was entertaining. Now, politics shouldn't be entertaining most of the time. Here's the thing about politics. We're talking about serious issues. We're not playing here. And I think that really is not great about these debates, because every single year they're becoming more and more of a circus and less of a stage where people could send their message to the American people, which I feel like that's something that's very, very bad on the part of kind of the people, the presidential candidates. The level that has been set for these presidential debates moving forward is extremely low, because both sides have decided to play the game of circus instead of really focusing on American politics. Trump sidesteps white supremacist condemnation during the first debate. I think, honestly, during this election, when it comes to the race issues, that first debate moment is going to be probably going to be talked about. Looking at tomorrow, so tomorrow you're going to see a lot of the news, clear moments, highlights, debates, whatever. Even in a couple minutes, you're going to see those start popping up on YouTube, online, on Twitter. Those moments, I think that KKK moment is going to, why don't you call it the KKK moment? That's going to make it to a lot of those highlights. It also depends on what edit they give Donald Trump, whether they give him more of a attackive edit where he was going against Biden with the Ukraine thing, which I think calling out Biden for his son's shady business in Ukraine, that's going to be interesting to watch. And I think that's going to be interesting to see how they frame it. I thought Biden will debate Trump again after tonight. I wouldn't say it was an astounding Trump victory. I think expectations were met. I think Trump definitely had a big control over the situation. However, was it that bad as we expected it to be for Biden? No, he actually a little bit overperformed. However, not by a lot. Am I even old enough to vote? No, I'm not, but I will be soon. Biden was more composed, spoke more sensibly, and kept calm, delivered his message well. Biden won the debate. Again, that's an opinion. And for some people, that could be a factor. The way that you deliver the debate and what your point is. However, I think when we think of these debates, we sometimes don't think of how someone gives the message, but rather we don't think about it in the way of being calm. We think about it who can able to damage the other person the most. Biden's team on Twitter tweets he shouldn't do another debate because Trump keeps interrupting. I mean, those are always going to be excuses. You could say that Trump was, I guess, unfairly questioned. Those things are always going to happen. It's a debate. I mean, when you have a discussion with someone, the chances are if it gets heated, you're going to start debating someone. But by a little bit, you're going to start getting heated. So, I mean, I think if they use that excuse, the Republicans are simply going to paint it as, well, he doesn't want to debate. He's scared. Who won, you ask? Does anyone seriously think one person a dynamic decision based on what you just witnessed? That's true. I think no one probably made a big decision. One, because in big part, this election was pretty much served on a silver platter where there's very little undecided voters. The 2016 debates, huge, because they truly decided a lot of voters, because both candidates were unpopular. In this situation, we could say that Joe Biden is more like the Trump, generally speaking, I think, speaking bluntly. So I think at this point in time, for Biden at least, no one, I think it really was going to be a thing where a political circus, because no one's really going to decide off of this. You may not be enough ultimate, but you're without a doubt the best, most knowledgeable, hardworking person making predictions this year. Thank you, Tony. I really appreciate that. So I think at this point in time, the election is not going to be massively changed. Now, I want to see the other two debates. They touch, I think, on a lot of the biggest issues from this election. Supreme Court, economy, COVID-19 recovering, race relations. Those are the biggest things of the debate. They're going to touch foreign policy, I guess, in one of the next two debates. Although this is not even a thing this election season. Foreign policy is the least thing people are worried about this election. Well, someone in 2016, you would remember that foreign policy was huge because Benghazi had just happened. You had all that mess. I mean, not just happened, but happened in the same administration. So foreign policy was a big thing. I think foreign policy has definitely improved under Trump's administration, which is truly going to give him some leverage when it comes to those debates. Because usually when you think of presidential debates, that's how they structure it. Big issues, economy, and foreign policy. I can't imagine. Okay, it was a mess. I can't imagine Biden speaking to world leaders and standing up for himself. I think this debate, especially the foreign policy debate, I really want to see that. When people start discussing it, these debates essentially is kind of how you're going to be able to negotiate and how you're going to have to speak with leaders. For Joe Biden, I think the way that Donald Trump spoke was a business way. I mean, in the world of business, you cannot get left behind. And you're going to have to put off this, even if it's authoritarian a little bit, this strategy so you come out ahead in negotiations. When it comes to foreign policy, that's something I see a strong thing for Trump. And then when it comes to the foreign policy debates, that's something that's really going to damage him. Again, in 2016, we saw one big thing, that the both candidates were so unpopular that the debates actually mattered. Here, I mean, the debates are not really going to have a lasting impact on the election. I feel like Trump has such a monopoly on this election, it's impossible for him to lose. I wouldn't say it's a monopoly, and I think he's kind of losing right now. I would say that it's definitely closer than people think. I will definitely give him that, because I think they claim they have a silent majority. Is it a majority? Don't know yet. However, I will say the following. Donald Trump does have a group of silent voters, which end up voting for him. And essentially, it's a lot of these quiet voters that don't like talking about what they are thinking. I don't know if Trump lost badly. I think, at best, if you could consider it, considering expectations of what he expected, the debate was a tie. Realistically, if you put everything quantitatively, we say Donald Trump won, because I think he did. Republicans only nominated Pathological Cholai, who asked Russia for help on television. About Russia, I mean, I don't think so. We saw today the FBI, or the Director of National Intelligence, send a letter to Lindsey Graham, chairman of the Senate Judiciary Committee. Hillary Clinton and her campaign tried to get the Russians to frame Trump. If you want, it's on. I'll put it. I think if I can put it on my community tab later on, I will definitely do so you guys can read the letter. But talking about the Russians, I think the interference might have been against Trump, which this election, I think, was really going to be an issue. And it was briefly touched on at the end. I mean, during the end, the last segment, it was a bunch of blabbering. They didn't even talk about the topic that much. It was about voter fraud. And we see some cases. I mean, Representative Ilhan Omar, she got called out. Supporters of hers and even like people could consider that she was doing it, trying to harvest ballots, which is horrendous for the American democracy. I wouldn't think that it was. I think that's being irrational. 45 lies. I think Trump at worst tied with Biden because he wore the authoritarian type pants during the debate, while Biden kept the calm. Which those things balance each other out. But I still don't know. But CNN and MSC have Trump said Ted Trump can win by Supreme Court no matter what. Most disgusting thing I've ever seen. Okay, but Biden doesn't have to win Arizona and Florida to win the election. He's currently up. You're right. I mean, Florida and Arizona for Biden, North Carolina, Texas, Georgia, Ohio, Iowa. These are all add-ons. These are okay, great. I took these states. Those are not big focuses for Biden. Now, for Trump, some of these states are bigger effects. He needs to win in Texas. He needs to win in Georgia. He needs to win in Ohio. He needs to win in Iowa. He needs to win in Florida. He needs to win in the Rust Bowl. It's necessary. It's not an option. Well, for Biden, winning a lot of these swing states, it's an option. It's not completely necessary. You don't need to cherry pick polls to see Biden is winning Michigan. I think that's true. I think with Michigan specifically, because with Wisconsin and Pennsylvania, I would be a little bit more careful with those polls. But with Michigan, we saw a big trend with a blue in the blue wave in 2018, if you would like to call it that. We're seeing pretty constant numbers, and again, 11,000 votes. It's nothing. It truly is nothing. It's in a county of 100,000 people. That's 10%. Or if you have a county of 1,000,000 people, that's just 1%. And I mean, compare that to a state like Florida, for example, which is another state where people say in the polls forecast say Biden's leading, but I don't get because the numbers don't add up in my head. Because he won the state of Florida, ballpark 200,000, 250,000. We have Florida Latino numbers that came out yesterday, not yesterday, but last week, or was that last week? That was like 2 weeks ago. That showed Trump ahead with Hispanics in Florida when he lost Hispanics in Florida by 10 points or 20 points in 2016. So those numbers, those are almost 200,000 votes there, in addition to the numbers that he has to make up. So I think that's interesting. And I think at this point, the state of Florida might be kind of not locked, but it'd be maybe leaning towards Trump because of the Latino Hispanic turnout. Let's see if we have any more things in the chat. Nothing fancy. This is real life. Even Bluger reported it. If it comes down to swing states, everything is going to be contested on both sides. It truly is. And we think elections that come down to just a couple of states, those are the elections that go to the Supreme Court. Al v. Gore. Did I just say Al v. Gore? Gore v. Bush. And I think truly that's going to be one of the things that we're going to notice. The Supreme Court battle, I think, is going to be a big part of this election. I think that constitutionally, there is no reason for them not to confirm Amy Coney Barrett, unless she's done something crazy, ridiculous in the past that doesn't deserve confirmation. Levels of really bad stuff. Not she voted against this or that, or I guess judged or ruled against something like that. With this, I think the Democrats are going to pull out the dying wish thing. Here's the thing to understand. Whether you're a Democrat or a Republican, in politics, you don't have dying wishes. That's not how it works. Antonin Scalia didn't have his. He didn't get a dying wish. And, I mean, although it would be great, RBG was such a great person. She must be honored. That dying wish and how they argue, they should nominate someone else because it was RBG's dying wish. I think as good it would be to honor it. In politics, you don't always get your dying wish. Okay. All polls have Trump narrowly trailing in my state, and Trump in key states like Arizona and Florida. If Trump is doing good with 24/7 negative press, there's no way Biden has a hope. If press was for Trump, I think he would be leading in the election. Since the press is so unfair to him, it's pretty questionable. He never announced white supremacists and never said he would peacefully transfer. Yeah. So for those two things, those are important. I think with the white supremacy, we saw that. I think that was a pretty bad thing to do. I think, for example, Biden, like there's like moments where they were asked like to do pledges, like I pledge to not do this. There was points that both of them could have taken opportunities. Trump with the KKK, that's a little bit more serious. Biden with Antifa and not packing the court, which is also pretty serious. So those are two moments I think it would have been better if both of them have pledged, but of course, they're playing politics. Do I think the Republican senators are being hypocrites? Here's why I think the Republicans are not being hypocrites. Because the Democrats tried in 2016. They tried, but they failed. And I think in reality, if both of them are being hypocrites, they're not being hypocritical at all. Because essentially what we're seeing is that the Republicans are trying to get the nominee through when the Democrats try to do the same thing. So neither side is being hypocritical. They're just stuck in the world of politics. You don't have to prove anything. SCOTUS will take it up. Pennsylvania states got rid of signatures. That's true, and I think they've been coming through. Over the last week, we've seen a lot of these effects of these voter fraud cases, and that's very true. Ask yourself, why would they allow ballot harvesting and get rid of signature verification in support of fighting voter suppression? I think voter suppression has nothing to do with the signatures. Like, I don't get what signatures and suppressing the vote of a race have to do with anything. Yeah, they use it as an excuse, whatever. But I think voter signature, you have to identify yourself. It's not like it's not like you can say, "Hi, I'm this person. I want to vote," without nothing. Or voter ID laws. I think those might be necessary to upkeep the democracy we have in our nation. The Republican Party took crap on the Constitution when Obama was president. The Constitution says the president gets to pick his justice. Here's the situation as well. The Democrats in 2016 did not have the Senate. The Republicans do. That changes the playing field. And thinking about it in the world of politics, if you don't have the Senate, the chances are you're going to get it extended anyways. Politically, it was a smart move. I think since the Democrats don't really have anything they can do. They can't stop it. The nomination's going to go through. Why cry over spilled milk? You understand how the court system works. SCOTUS is an appellate court. First, you must go through the lower courts. Of course, but through the lower courts, everything flies through. Yes, that's true. Trump has taken the court system by storm. He talked about this in the debate at one point. He's approved 300 judges almost by the time he leaves. So that's pretty impressive because, in part of the Obama administration, why would you leave so many judges open? And yeah, of course, a lot of places Obama had nominees that Senate didn't approve them. Politics again. And I think at the end of the day, not approving those judges might really come bite them again. Now, one thing we also must think about is truly, how does this set up the future debates? Do you guys think that we're going to see a debate in the future where Biden gets scared, Biden is maybe not as vocal as he was against Trump, and will Trump play defensive or offensive? I think Trump is the offensive type of player, so it's going to be interesting. Activist judges like this country has never seen come following election day. Trump judges have literally overturned every negative ruling against him. Trump is your representative for the discussing sod loop Doug. Signatures can be suppression because they're 100% subjective. Because of that, GOP poll workers should be rejecting as many ballots in the dumb precincts as possible. That's a voter suppression. Of course, but I think it's unfair sometimes because the way you sign something shouldn't be kind of impactful. But again, you need your form of identification. You have to identify that's you because, again, strategically or not strategically, but we know that in voter suppression cases, there's only very low, or not but voter fraud. Still, it's necessary to upkeep the democracy. When you don't have something, you're not going to realize you're missing it after you don't have it. The thing is that SCOTUS pick was 9. Yeah. Here's the thing as well. I think the Republicans played politics with that. They played way too long. That was a bad move in 2016. They could have done better. Now, the difference falls is that we're close to the election, but they're going to be able to push it through. Now, what could be a thing if they postpone the vote to after the election? game over for the Republicans. Mark Kelly's going to be on there. Very likely, at least 2 GOP members won't vote. That would be it, pretty much. Like if they have 3 GOP members not vote, they're done with that nominee. So I mean, overall, this election is going to it's really going to be impactful the next 2 to 3 weeks. And essentially, yeah, because that's like essentially the 2 weeks before election. We're going to see since a lot of people are mail-in voting. We're going to see a big surge of mail-in voting in the next week, just because it's after the first debate, and some people wanted to wait. So it's going to be interesting. Russia attacked the USA to get Trump elected. I don't think that Russia attacked the US to get Trump elected. I think there is a possibility that Russia was a whole thing set up to hurt Trump. It's a possibility. And I think at this point, why would Russia want to help Trump? It doesn't make sense. And if you think about it, Russia and China, their ideals ideologically, and even in general doing business, they would want to be against Trump. China is against Trump because of the whole ban thing. Not the ban, but the tariffs and everything. And Russia, I mean, they are very leftist ideals. I don't know why they would support Trump. Amy's 100% getting confirmed. They have the votes, and she will be the one to give Trump an election if anything gets contested. Only way Biden wins this election if it's an election. I think that the way this is going to work out, we're going to see a lot of faithless electors this election. If the election, for God forbid, gets 269, or even like within like maybe 10 to 15 electoral votes, prepare for all hell to break loose. If all of you thought that just in general, just getting these results is going to create a lot of civil unrest across the nation, I don't want to imagine it if it goes to the Supreme Court and then it ends up being Amy Coney Barrett, the one who decides it. The nation's going to go wild, and we might not see the same results. I think faithless electors should be banned because I think the Electoral College, the way it's set up, like the idea behind the Electoral College, I like it because it gives like representation in equal parts. But faithless electors, no. I think it should be that each state legislature casts the vote because I think that would be more fair. Trump has election rigged. Low. It's actually insane low. Faithless electors can be fined. Yeah, but some of these electors, they don't care. What are they getting fined? $500? I mean, for a lot of people, $500 is quite a big amount of money. But if you think about it comprehensively, for a lot of these electors who oftentimes end up being perhaps maybe a little bit more, I guess on the wealthier side, we could say $500 isn't going to make or break. So I think I don't have a dog in this presidential fight, but the first polls say Biden won. We'll see. I was reading the Atlantic story, the election that broke America, and it was in many options Trump and GOP can go in order to win. First CBS polls showed Biden won the debate. That's interesting. I don't know because here's the thing. You could look at this debate in two perspectives. One, Donald Trump was being way too egotistic. He was being way too obnoxious in a way, but he was getting his points across, and he made very good claims against Biden. While we could say that there was like another part where we could say that there was like a Biden, I guess, moment sometimes that we could say that maybe a little bit less. I don't have a dog in this fight, says the incel with the Trump flag on his wall. I also have a Biden flag, if you haven't noticed. I'm truly unbiased, and it's just a set piece I use to film my videos. So maybe you should be hidden from the channel because I guess you don't understand. And I'm going to delete your comments because I think you don't have the ability to look at everything like it is. But I mean, I think it's important for this election. People have to take in consideration. And here's the thing. A lot of people say that they won't vote for someone because of their personality. Whether it is because of Trump or Biden, don't worry about their personalities. Worry about their issues. If you believe Biden or Trump has good policies with something, no matter how bad their personalities might be, I don't think that's truly a factor. Because if we start voting on personalities, perhaps you could choose the wrong person and make mistakes. Keep that in mind. And when you go cast your ballot in November 3rd, whether it be for Trump or for Biden, make sure that you think that's the best thing. Don't make sure that you're not being influenced by someone else. Make sure that you're making your decision on your own, and make sure that that's what you think is for the best of the country. I'm going to tell you right now. I think statistically, the data, scientifically, everything tells us Biden is bound to win. However, there is a gut feeling I have a gut feeling that there might be a Trump victory. I don't know why, but I think Donald Trump is comeback kid. So I can't vote right now. But if I could, I would be pretty split down the middle. I don't know who I would vote for. There's things I agree. I think with Biden, the reasons I would vote for him, mostly because of Donald Trump's personality. With Trump, the reasons I would vote for him is some of his policies I like better. So I'm not sure what I would do if I were able to vote. I guess like if I were able to vote, I would be thinking more actively about it, and I would actually come down to the decision. But right now, I don't know what I would vote for. So I think it's interesting that the first polls show Biden winning, because it's pretty. You could say Biden won, Biden lost, but it really is up to everyone. Guys, please remember, if you want to get more content, or maybe get this video out there to more people, you guys can press that like button so more people can see this video. Trump isn't going to win. If he wins, it's going to be first election where the polls are grossly off in number of seats. I think that's definitely true. If Trump wins, it's going to be one of the biggest upsets in American history, just looking off of how off the polls would have been. Because if you think about it, in the state of Pennsylvania, where is a state where Biden or Trump needs to win, what? The polls are going to be off by 5 to 10%? Insane. Biggest amount in American history. I don't think the data is going to matter. I really believe it's going to be contested. The data, I think, is something that it comes into play, but it's not a deciding factor. About 80% of all faction statements made by Trump were fact-checked by NBC News, and they were false. I don't know. With the fact-checking, I think sometimes they're very unfair with Trump, but very lenient with Biden. So I think they should also be fact-checking a lot more on both sides of the aisle. It's an insight to what can happen. I think it's an insight, but again, insights could be wrong. And overall, I think this debate really brought a couple things to the table. One end, we saw very, very, very interesting facts, thrown out the table. We saw very interesting arguments being made. Now, on the flip side, we also saw the clown movement, I guess, the circus that this became, the political circus, where these politicians, Biden and Trump, they were not talking about what was better for the American people. They were just there playing politics, going to the circus, creating a show for the American people to watch, which I think is really messed up. And many Americans haven't made up their mind. Instead of helping them, these two candidates simply made it harder for a lot of people. So, guys, this is where I'm going to end it today. It was a shorter live stream. I hope you guys enjoyed it. And please tell me what you guys think if you're watching this in the replay, what you guys thought about the 2020 presidential debates. These debates were truly interesting, and I hope to see a lot of you guys that came here today later to one of my other videos. I really invite you, and if you have not yet subscribed, please subscribe to the YouTube channel to have more updates on the 2020 presidential election. So, very big debate, very interesting debate, very crazy. Hope you guys enjoyed the video and the live stream, and I'm signing off. Bye.